All right. Welcome back to another episode of the Buffalo Happy Hour. What's going on, Mike?
Same old Derek, how are you?
Oh, we're just doing great over here.
That's right,
What
dude.
a great week we had.
It was a busy week.
It was a busy week.
We're basically pushing out to other distilleries for more content.
Mm-hmm.
Got to keep the viewers happy.
Absolutely. The viewers are what pays the bills, man.
That's right, because obviously we're loaded now.
Yeah, for sure. So yesterday we drove out to Rochester to go talk with a distillery. Sweet guy. You'll be seeing that episode November 1st. We're planning on releasing that, so that'll be fun.
Yeah, I gave a sneak preview to fiance. She liked some of the photos, and then she thought that the inside of the distillery was pretty cool.
Yeah.
So that was the whole experience was awesome. I'm excited for that, so we can talk about
And that
it.
dude was so cool. So for everybody, it's going to be an actual interview with the head distiller, or the owner there. Sorry, not the head distiller.
Right, yeah.
The owner of it.
Yep.
And he was just an awesome dude. It's going to be
Super laid back.
Yeah. So that'll be cool. But to transition from that into kind of what we have this week, we have a new table decor. So that's exciting.
Check it out.
Yeah. So we bought this extremely classy wood bordered whiteboard here, which is definitely what we're trying to do with this podcast, is stay classy, you know.
Yeah, Ron Swanson would approve of not only the whiskey, but the wood-bordered whiteboard.
We don't have Lagavulin today, but maybe sometime.
Soon.
But yeah, so we got this whiteboard, and really what we wanted to do with this whiteboard, we touched on this a little bit last episode, but we wanted to have a continuous monitoring of what type of whiskeys we're looking at, and then also be consistent as we're going through these ratings. So up there in the far left column, you have what whiskey we're drinking. 1 Foot Cock was obviously the first. Black Button, the 4 grain straight, was the one last week. And then today we have the Tommyrotter American whiskey, which we'll get into in a second. And then our rating factors, again, we've touched on this last week. We have the label, the branding, which also kind of goes with the story behind the whiskey. That was something that you and I wanted to keep touching on.
Yep.
The nose, the initial taste, the ending notes, and then giving our final numerical score at the end.
Absolutely.
So let's jump right into it then. Let's talk about today's episode. What do we want to touch on? Our backgrounds, right? That's kind of what we wanted to start with.
Yeah, our personal background. So I had a couple people reach out, and now that they've seen the podcast and seen us stare at each other from across a Bill's Mafia foldable table, they asked, what do you do for a living? And I said, well, that's actually something we should talk about on the episode. So we can go into personal backgrounds, basically what we do full time, and then touch on like the high notes, and then just condense it, and then we can dive into the story of the distillery.
Okay. You want to go first or you want me to?
You can go first.
All right. So, so my name's Derek, obviously. And I started really getting into criminal justice, as Mike and I talked about on the first episode. We wanted to become police officers when we were coming out of college, or something in the police industry. And then when I was graduating college, I went to school actually for forensic science, crime scene investigation.
Where was that?
So at Hilbert, when we went there together. So it was a great school, really small, but the teachers actually knew what they were talking about there, as opposed to the first school that we went to where they had no idea what they were talking about.
We won't talk about that.
Dude, people were getting arrested. It was the teachers were getting arrested, not the students. It was just...
Not during class, it was just in their past.
And also, just because we've talked about teachers before, it's not that teacher that we've been talking about. He was never arrested. He's still kicking it, having fun, but not that teacher. We had some other characters that we should probably not talk about on this show.
No.
But it was, so I went to that school first for my associate's degree in criminal justice, then went to Hilbert for forensic science crime scene investigation, because I wanted to go into the police force somewhere and become a homicide detective, a crime scene investigator. So coming out of college, I went to do a internship at the Cheektowaga Police Department, which is the town that I used to live in, not anymore, but my internship was with the crime scene investigators, which was pretty sweet. So we went to go see a couple scenes, like death scenes and everything, to try to figure out what happened. And I was able to dust for some fingerprints on some theft cases, which was pretty sweet. And then when school wrapped up, I took a job at M&T Bank. And that was supposed to be a 9-month fixed term position, to where it would provide me with income while I kept traveling the Eastern Coast trying to look for a police job, because it was so tough. And we talked about this a little bit with my different experiences with Rhode Island and Vermont or whatever like that. But so I wanted to continue to work at M&T while I was trying to go for these police jobs so I can get into the crime scene field. But then as the program, that 9-month program at M&T was coming to an end, I still needed income. I couldn't just continue driving around the United States looking for a job. So I applied for a full-time position at M&T. And then as soon as I got that, I got promoted into this management development program. And then I started working in M&T doing the Bank Secrecy Act and the anti-money laundering. That's what it was. It's been like 6 months and I'm out of it, and I already forgot everything that I learned. But so BSA AML, that's what they call it. So it's anti-money laundering and terrorist financing investigations. So similar to kind of what I wanted to do, investigations. I'm investigating money instead of people. It was interesting. I mean, there were some highs, definitely some lows about like investigating people's money to see if they're getting wires coming from third world countries or any terrorist financing countries and everything like that. So it was pretty cool. Most closely I can relate that to would be like Breaking Bad, when Walter starts laundering all this money, or Ozark's the new one where he's laundering money through the Ozarks in Missouri. So that's kind of something that I did for a little bit, and then I just transferred recently into doing cybersecurity. So now I do cybersecurity still for M&T. I've been there for 5 years now, a little over 5 years. And for that, I just make sure that all cybersecurity controls are in place and everything that's coming into the bank is up to code. That way no one can breach our stuff. So it's been fun. It's been a fun ride.
It's fascinating.
It is very fascinating. I've been lucky to be able to move and grow within the bank, which is part of the reason why I've stayed there for so long.
Right.
If I wasn't able to move and grow as much as I did, I probably would have left already. But M&T, I mean, if anyone's in the Buffalo area or even the Northeast, M&T is a huge bank here. It's not a national bank. It's still a community bank, like a small bank, even though we're huge right now.
Yeah, seriously.
They keep trying to trot this community bank feel, and there is the feel of community bank, but...
Cheers.
Cheers.
Gotta sip.
I'm sure M&T is really going to love me talking about them while drinking whiskey. But, so yeah, it has a really good community feel, but at some point you have to acknowledge that you're bigger than a community at this point. And that's what M&T is doing, and we're heading in the right direction now. So, yeah, it's a cool job. I love doing what I do. I'll stay there for the rest of my life. But, yeah, so that's really it. That's where I'm at right now.
Solid.
Yeah, what about you?
Good resume.
Yeah, thanks, dude.
Well, same thing. Graduated high school and then got my associates from a 2-year school where we first met.
Do you want to talk about it?
Yeah, we're not going to talk about it too much. And then basically from that point, I knew that I was going to join the Army. Sat down and talked to my dad about it. And then he was adamant on me at least having a degree to fall back on in case anything and everything happened. I give him credit for that. It was the right call. I wasn't too thrilled about it until I was about halfway through my training down in Fort Benning. And then when I started thinking about being able to go back home and then pick up a civilian life, and there were other dudes that were just shipping off to go active, I knew that I did make the right choice, because there was so much in my past that I was still getting through and dealing with that it definitely was the right call. So ended up graduating with my associates in criminal justice in May, and then in June of the same year, within it was like 2.5 weeks, I shipped off to Fort Benning for infantry school, completed that, and then came back in September because, like I said in episode 1, I joined the New York State Guard as an infantryman, and then I was put into a reconnaissance unit. We're a dismounted reconnaissance unit, so we're not using any vehicles at all. We just walk everywhere. For anybody that's I don't know, like older, I guess you can say, like guys that have been in, they would assimilate what I'm doing now to like a LURS unit, kind of like the old school Vietnam guys that would just go out in a team of 8 and then conduct area route reconnaissance missions and then develop as much of the as many details as possible for follow-on operations. So basically I go in first, I survey the area, and then whether it's, you know, like a giant grid or if it's a specific village, we would conduct reconnaissance on it, push all our information up over a period of time to hire, and then hire comes up with a course of action and what they want to do for follow-on operations.
Sure.
So our infills vary from helicopter, foot, boat, and then our exfills are all the same thing, but it's all mission depending. So we train for almost everything. It is a really, really cool unit. I had a lot of fun. I spent 8 years there, and then as I digress, came back in September. once I completed all my training down in Benning. And then I took a semester off because I missed the enrollment period for my bachelor's. Basically just picked up a part-time job doing maintenance and grounds and landscaping, stuff like that, at a big-time wedding venue in Buffalo. And then once I was able to go back to school for my bachelor's, I did. And then we ran back into each other, and we just kept asking the college administrators, why in the world would you let the two of us go back to school together under the same roof? So that was a good experience, and I'm glad it happened.
When you and I first reconnected, just a side note, after after college, I remember you telling the story to Gina when Gina and I started dating. I saw you in the hallway, and I screamed at the top of my lungs, "Is that Mike Kelly?"
And I was so thrown off. I'm like, no one calls me by my full name. I'm like, this person must really know me.
Except for this guy.
So I turn and look, and then there you are, just standing there with a huge smile on your face at the end of the hall. And I'm like, come on. This is so dangerous. Years later, here we are sipping whiskey.
Yeah, seriously.
So
that is funny.
It's amazing. So graduated with a 4-year in criminal justice and police science, and then shortly after graduating college, I took like a 3-week off period where I can just kind of collect myself, get situated. Landed my first full-time job outside of law enforcement, which is what I wanted to do. So the whole reason I went to school and joined the Army was because I really wanted to get into SWAT. I really wanted to join not only like a police agency or a force, but then just work into their like top tier units and just do, run and gun type stuff. I'm obsessed with it, still am. So didn't happen. I got a full-time job with Geico, and I was actually selling homeowners insurance, and I did that for 9 months. I early certified as an agent, which meant that I hit all the metrics for the following month, a month early. So I was able to get basically fully licensed, fully certified as an agent. I was put onto an actual team, and then I was able to get a pay raise because I certified early. And then out of our entire training class, it was me and one other guy that early certified. So that was a nice accomplishment.
Yeah,
for sure. The Geico hiring process, for anybody who is interested, it's pretty intense. It was more intense than I thought it was. It was a drug test, multiple interviews. It was like a 6-step process.
Wow.
But yeah, it was good. The licensing portion was tough. It was academically challenging because it's an entire college semester condensed into a couple weeks.
Sure.
So got through that. And then I ended up getting a job offer for the company I currently work for, which is phenomenal. So it is a HVAC commercial and industrial air filter distributor. So we distribute filters that are made by a bigger filter manufacturer, and we distribute it to all the major players in and around Buffalo, Rochester, and Syracuse. So it's a family-owned business. Been in business just over 40 years, super down to earth. Like you were saying with M&T, like a small community bank feel. Mm-hmm. It's the same way where I'm at. It's a company called Clark Air Systems, and it's family owned. Everybody works really well together. Everybody stays in the lane. They do their job, and we all just go home. I mean, it's a great company. So I'm the regional manager. I sell HVAC filters to commercial and industrial locations. We don't really do residential. Even though we can get the filters, we really don't focus on that at all. It's just not our market. And been doing that for just over 4 years, and I love it. Basically, I just drive around, drink coffee, and hang out with people. But the big thing is
you do much more than that.
Yeah, for sure. But you got to know what you're talking about. So it's a good job, for sure.
I'm surprised that you've been there for that long. I didn't know that you were there for 4 years.
We call it 3+1. Me and my boss, we joke about it because of the deployment.
Yeah, sure.
So I was gone for a year.
That makes sense.
Yeah, so for people listening, 2017, I deployed for a year to Ukraine and basically worked with their military for training. So we went over there and worked with them, spun them up on some new tactics, and kind of got them up to speed for whatever fight that they were enduring or will endure. It was a huge experience and opportunity. It opened my eyes a lot to the world and really what is outside of the U.S.
Yeah.
It's tough, but we have it so well here that it was actually, I went on a job. Here's a story for you. Came back from deployment. I was home for about 6 months. There was an out-of-town job for work that I volunteered for. So I'm in sales, but I still like to get my hands dirty and go out with the guys and have fun and do like huge filter install jobs. So we were out and we were across the state, right outside of Albany, doing a giant intake filter change out. And they basically took water and then produced electricity for downstate.
Oh, cool.
So we were changing their intake filters for that big operation that they do. So I was in a grocery store and this guy is staring at a refrigerator door and for coffee creamers, and there was easily 60 different kinds of creamer. And he's with his kid, and his kid was about 2-3 years old. Never seen these people in my life, but the kid was just staring at the refrigerator door, and this guy's like, "Are you kidding me? That they don't have the creamer I want," and then walked away. And I'm like, "Yeah, but dude, how many options do you need?"
Right.
You know, like, there's legitimately flavors that don't even exist. They're hybrid flavors, and you're upset that they didn't have the one you like. All right, man. Like, if that's your problem, then obviously you don't have problems.
Exactly.
And it's such a different mindset switch. But because of the fact that I was out of the country for a year and away from American media and the bubble, I call it, of the U.S., you just really see what the world goes through, and we just have such a surplus.
Sure.
So, yeah, it's just that the whole thing changed my life. Which is why I always give so much credit to the Army, because it made me mature and grow up and realize that the problems that I have aren't problems. Right. I can just breathe and it's not a big deal.
Sure.
Except when there's 2 different water pitchers inside my buddy's house and I don't understand why one's cold and one's warm, or why, whatever the issue with Colleen is that day, where we just go off on each other for some hilarious moment and we just laugh about it.
Sometimes you just disagree. I mean, the reason that there's 2 water filters upstairs is because I like my water at literally the point right before it freezes. I want things so cold, but I want to be able to still drink it. So if it's frozen, obviously you can't drink it. And Gina wants it room temperature. So we can never agree on the water, because if mine is anywhere above 32 degrees Fahrenheit where it's not frozen, I'll get aggravated because I want it super cold. So she has one that's a little bit more glamorous on the sink, and I have one in the fridge to keep it cold. But that's also why my carrots have frostbite. It's because my fridge is set to like 31 degrees right now. And when I take food out to start cutting it for dinner, it's got all this frostbite on it. It's just how it is, man. Sometimes you just don't know.
I'm obsessed with this.
Yeah.
We should keep it going. What we should do is every week we should come up with a different disagreement that we have in our relationships and then just blast them on public media so that everyone can understand what we go through.
Well, by the time this one comes out, we'll have time to film one more, and then they'll shut us down. So I don't know if that'll be an ongoing
I know, we could lose all 34 subscribers. No, but yeah, so that's my experience in a nutshell. So I basically work full-time for that air filter distributor company, and I'm in the Army for a couple more months. I get out after 8 years and 3 months, and it's been a hell of a ride.
Yeah. Did you ever think that we would end up... I remember coming out of college thinking, I want to be in criminal justice somehow. I don't want redundancy, and I do not want a desk job. And now I have a desk job. My first desk job was super redundant. Would you ever think that you were doing what you're doing now when you were in college?
No, I didn't even know it was a thing. Yeah. I didn't
really?
even know that industry existed.
Sure.
I just saw stuff on the roof, and I was like, oh, like that's just a piece of...
Someone must do it.
Machinery. Like, yeah, I was so naive to it, and then now I'm like literally inside those units discussing different issues that someone would have or could have. So
yeah, I mean, that's true, because every time that I would look at any type of bank, I would think that they just take in money and that's really it. Until I got into the corporate side of bank, and now I know really everything that goes in behind the scenes. It's a completely different animal than what you would think happens at a bank.
Yeah, it's a whole new game.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, so you want to jump into the whiskey that we got today?
Yeah, for sure. So Tommyrotter Distillery is in Buffalo, and it was pretty cool. Yeah. They had like a modern feel to it. They had updated decor throughout their little showroom where you could try different whiskeys. And then their bartender was awesome. She knew the products inside and out, and she actually was from downstate and then moved to Buffalo recently, and she loves the city. So that was good to hear too, because it's another outside perspective. She got here in March, so she's new to Buffalo. She loves Buffalo, and she thinks it's a great kept secret, which we're obviously not trying to hide anymore with the podcast.
We're really trying to keep the secrets now.
Yeah, super classified information about Buffalo. But yeah, so basically, Tommyrotter Distillery is located in Buffalo. Like I said, they opened their doors in 2015. They're an independent distillery that resides in a 119-year-old box factory that's in the heart of the manufacturing district. And yeah, it is.
Yeah.
They're right on the corner, and they're right around the corner from the Sabres Arena. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to call it the Sabres Arena because that's timeless. Because that arena changes names probably 6 times a year, and I'm over it.
Get something else next year.
Yeah, so I'm fed up. But basically, they distill age. Yeah, I'm just over it, man. Just throw it in the garbage. It's always going to be the Ralph, and it's always going to be where the Sabres play. Yeah. So, anyways, Tommyrotter distills, ages, blends, finishes, and bottles spirits of really high quality, and that's true, they do, on site, and they win praise for unique and delicious tasting products. So the one that we have is the American whiskey,
Yep.
right?
They're American whiskey. Yep.
Good deal. So their distillery is inspired by the Tommyrotter Club, which is a Buffalo-based band of rebellious artisans, and they were committed to pursuing an individual truth, which is pretty cool. They lived and labored in a rogue artist camp, bucking the traditional to seek adventure and mischief and inspiration for their greatest works.
Yeah.
So they have pictures of guys that are doing legitimate, hard-earned American work.
Right.
They're using sledgehammers, they're breaking up chains, they're making a lot of different things. I mean, they're putting in an honest work.
Yeah, instead of going along with like the traditional arts and crafts of that era where the people were generally doing arts and crafts, these people are earning their work.
Yeah.
By doing like hard labor.
Yeah. So basically, they're in honor of the industrious spirit by crafting products of exceptional taste through an unyielding pursuit of quality. So when we went there to pick up the bottle for the episode, we did meet Bobby Fyan, who's their basically operating partner.
Yeah, he's the master distiller there too.
Yeah, so he's a young guy. He's super smart, really squared away. He knows his place inside and out. Obviously, it's his. But basically, him and Sean met in 2014 and soon after partnered to found the distillery. So he's the master distiller. He's won top accolades for his gins, which you'll touch on, and their whiskeys, which you'll touch on, in international spirits for competitions and periodicals. So basically, they were all over the place. They just made our news outlet, which you'll touch on too.
Yeah.
And basically, Sean brings in decades of corporate business acumen to the partnership, having served as a marketing executive for a publicity trading company. So,
public trading company.
Yeah, public trading company. Sorry. So yeah, the whiskey's already kicking in, and we got to drink again because it just beeped. Perfect. But yeah, so basically, they're awesome people and they do a really good job.
Yeah, and their whiskey's very good. They had 3 different types of whiskeys. One was a Tennessee whiskey, I think. One was this American whiskey, and what was the other one? It was a charred. I forgot.
It was the casket.
Oh, the high wheat mash bill bourbon, the high corn mash bill bourbon, and the Tennessee whiskey.
The Tennessee was the one I was thinking of. Yeah.
So these whiskeys too, judging based off of the guy at Tommyrotter, he gave us a presentation that he actually used to present to the national distribution center that they ended up signing with, which I'll touch on in a little bit. It was just in the Buffalo News the other day, so it's all public information now. But basically, what all these bourbons are, they're finished in the Cabernet Sauvignon barrels, French oak barrels, basically. Mm-hmm. And so those were the 3 whiskeys there. The one that we have in front of us is really light and sweet. Like, it goes down very smooth. It starts off a little bit harsh. It kind of burns you a little bit going down the first time, but after it settles in on your tongue and everything, it kind of has a nice sweet taste to it.
For sure.
Which I like about this one. And the cool thing about this too is it's pretty cheap compared to other distilleries that we visited and their whiskeys. So this one, this has a price point around $39.99, so it's relatively cheap compared to the other whiskeys that we've tried, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
The details of this specific one, so this is a triple barrel American whiskey, and it's a 92 proof, which is up there in the proof category that we've had. The mash bill for this one, just to get into the nerdy stuff of it, it's 80% corn, 14% wheat, 4% barley, and 2% rye. So it has that heavy corn and a little bit of wheat flavor to it. Once you smell it, let's take a little bit of a smell, even though we'll rate it a little bit later, but it has... I mean, I have the sheet in front of me, so you can tell. There's some little hints of cherry, citrus, and honey. Like, you get a different type of those 3 tastes, which is different than what we've had before, because the Black Button had a heavy vanilla and caramel smell to it, and the One Foot Cock had a honey smell to it. So this one, we started off with a one-dimensional, the honey, We switched to a 2-dimensional, which is the caramel and vanilla. And now we're going all out with the cherry, citrus, and honey.
Which explains us pretty well.
Yeah, for sure. And this is finished, like the finishing taste of this are vanilla, caramel, and like an oak spice to it too. So it's a very dynamic whiskey, I'd say. It kind of plays with your palate a little bit. But it definitely goes down extremely, extremely smooth. And this one got 92 points, so they submitted this for a competition, the 2019 Ultimate Beverage Challenge. And it was a finalist for the Chairman's Trophy there, which is a pretty crazy accomplishment for that. So yeah, it's a very good whiskey. I love it. I would definitely put it up pretty high, but we'll talk about the rating later on in the episode. But another thing that I want to touch on is that national distribution that they had. So on October 8th, the Buffalo News released an article talking about Tommyrotter because Tommyrotter actually partnered with Palm Bay International. So now you can find Tommyrotter's products all over the country. And that's huge for a small distillery, local distillery, because as we were told from the Tommyrotter folks there and also other distribution or other distillery places, it is very hard to get your foot in the door being a local whiskey because about 92% of what you see in stores are controlled by like 6 companies.
Yeah.
So it's impossible really to become a nationally renowned whiskey or any type of alcohol because these bigger companies have such a monopoly on them. So it was pretty cool. Something that the news article pointed out is this partnership with Palm Bay International will allow the Tommyrotter lineup of alcohol. So that includes this whiskey, their gin. They had a rum too, I'm pretty sure, and a vodka also. It's cool. We actually saw the vodka at the place that we just went in Rochester, which is cool. But it allows all of these different spirits to be even in restaurants, like retail stores throughout the country, also hotels, airlines, cruise ships, duty-free, and military bases. So basically everywhere. I mean, they could have summed that article up and said it's available everywhere.
Yeah.
Because I don't know what else
I don't either.
So basically their products will be available everywhere, which is huge for this small distillery. And again, it kind of brings up our point is trying to bring more publicity to Buffalo. And if these people are seeing that they can buy Tommyrotter Distillery products in California, they might look it up and see where it's from, and they'll be like, Buffalo, New York, really? I thought they were only known for shitty sports teams.
Exactly.
So it's cool to just continue to see all these success stories of people going national with their product and ultimately going to bring awareness to Buffalo. Yeah, so that's really it. And then Forbes also wrote an article, and the quote that I want to highlight from that article, which was also in this Buffalo News article, it said, quite possibly the best gin I've ever tasted in my life.
It was really good. We tried it.
Yeah, it was very, very good.
Yeah.
I am shocked with how amazing this whiskey and their products are in general. This is a whiskey podcast, obviously, but we'd be dumb not to point out their gin because it is world-renowned gin, basically, at this point. So, really cool. So we'll touch on our ratings later on in the show, but definitely kudos to these people at Tommyrotter. They did a fantastic job with all this. They were able to give us this presentation, like I said, some little cards that have their picture of their product on it, stickers, everything, just to continue to help us promote them and then help, obviously, their company being promoted too.
For sure.
Yeah. It's
a really, really good everyday after work whiskey. So, which is probably one of the reasons why we picked it up, because we don't just drink on this show, obviously.
Well, I mean, that's most of what we do.
That's it, yeah. We basically just film this show and drink.
Yeah.
But
like, it sucks, dude, because we talk about this all the time. You and I have been hanging out so much more because of this podcast. I wish that there was a camera on us all the time, because a lot of our moments that I want to capture happen in the car or whatever when we're driving an hour and a half to the next distillery.
Yeah, but we would also lose all of our followers and subscribers because we would most likely offend all of them.
Right, but okay, so let's bring up yesterday really quick.
Okay.
So first of all, we're going to Rochester to do this interview with the owner of a company, a distillery in Rochester, which again will be released on November 1st. We're driving in my car. We try to leave a little bit early. That way we can set up the equipment and be prepared once the actual interview starts at 3.
Yeah.
I don't have a control over how fast my car goes. I do, but I don't at the same time. So we end up getting in Rochester in like an hour, following the speed limit.
Yeah,
and
naturally.
all that stuff. Yeah,
right.
But we flew there basically, and
yeah, we were juiced
we
up.
almost died like 12 times.
And it wasn't because of us.
Exactly.
So
thank you for pointing that out.
Yeah, of course. I gotta. Dude, our family listens to this.
Yeah,
So, anyways,
the point.
there was a individual who was driving, and said individual fit.
Gender will not be named.
Right, but said individual meets a lot of the "I'm a bad driver" stereotypes, and
Jesus Christ. People's minds are wandering. Right now.
which is fine. Let them wander. The vehicle was not staying in the lane. If they were given a coloring book, they would not be inside the lines.
Not even close.
And it was almost dangerous to the point where we're thinking about filming the next Final Destination. It was interesting, to say the least. In and out of the lane, and it wasn't the right lane. She was... They were in the left lane. They were in the left lane and just swerving nonstop, basically going left side of the vehicle in front of them to right side of the vehicle in front of them to see who was in front of them and if they could pass. But
that's what I think was like we wanted actually.
That's what we hope was going on.
No way.
Yeah, there's no way, because we also had eyes on the individual looking in their back seat,
right,
reaching for something, and it was just a mess. So clearly above the speed limit. Not paying zero situational awareness.
Absolutely.
It was just, it was a mess.
And like when we were going down, it wasn't like 6 o'clock in the morning when there was no one on the road. This was prime time. The Thruway was packed.
Yeah,
and
it's a 2-lane.
Everywhere.
Yeah, it's a 2-lane Thruway that goes east to west, and it's just, or west to east. Either way.
Yeah, it goes both.
It's horizontal,
Be
right?
Weird if it only went one
if
way.
you're looking
You
on a
just
map,
can't
yeah.
come
So. So it's a 2-lane road. If there's any accident, it's going to back everything up from Buffalo all the way to Albany. I mean, it's just a mess. So here we go. We're driving, and then there they are, just swerving around and being a maniac. And we just thought that they were going to leave the road and either hit a tree, hit a pole, hit the guardrail, die. Yeah. I mean, it was just endless because they were literally probably 10 to 15, at times 25 over the speed limit. Yeah. It's just not...
The scary part was we started in front of them. And we looked in our rearview mirror, and she was not exaggerating.
They were.
Shit. They were. It had to have been in closer than a foot to our bumper.
100%.
You couldn't even make out like the license plate or anything because they were that close. I mean, license plate is like 3 feet away, but still, they were very, very close.
Yeah.
And it got to the point where you and I were like, well, let's just pull over and let them pass.
Exactly.
Because we literally were scared that we were going to get hit.
Yeah, so we executed defensive driving tactics. We thought that she was trying to conduct a pit maneuver on us, and I've watched World's Wildest Police videos, and I've seen too many episodes of Live PD. I can't risk it. Yeah. You know, I got the dog at home. Right. I got to cut the grass still. There are many more priorities at work other than watching this person crash. So just so everyone knows what ended up happening, they didn't crash. They got off the major interstate and then clearly went through the easy pass way too fast. Oh, yeah. It was a 20, probably took it at 35.
For sure.
Definitely probably going to get a ticket from Easy Pass, and then took the first exit. And by the time that we safely got to the Easy Pass and the toll booth, they were already exited and off. Yeah. So we don't know what happened.
Damn responsible driving on our end. We could have kept up with her.
If we go, they keep up with them. Yeah, pronouns. Yeah. So if we go viral over this story, and if you do happen to listen to this, I hope that you're safe. I hope that you reconsider your driving habits. Yes. And God bless. You know, do less. God bless. I mean, it was just, it was too much.
Yeah, that was quite humorous, and we were dying the whole time. I mean, we're
laughing, making all the jokes,
for sure.
Things we can't say. No. It was just, you know,
it was a heat in the moment, man.
Yeah. I felt like my life was in the hands of something else, and I'm not okay with that. Yeah. There's too many things.
They were technically in my hands since I was driving. But
yeah, until she flips, and then her rear bumper, until they flip and their rear bumper enters your front windshield, then who knows what's going to happen.
I actually saw that happen once. Not like anyone.
Come on.
But yeah, the driving over here in Cheektowaga by the Galleria, and a tire jumped from one side of Walden to the other side of Walden. I don't think it hit anybody, but I saw it happen, and I just blacked out because I was so scared. This was a while ago. But it does happen.
What time of year? Was it winter? Or?
No, it was summertime.
Wow.
I think that the lug nuts must just not have been tight enough, and it just popped off.
What happened to the vehicle?
It was just on the side of the road. Yeah. They weren't going like super, super fast, but they just might have hit a pothole. It jumped off, and then it just bounced.
Jeez.
Yeah, it was like my first couple years driving, so it must have been 9 years ago at this point.
I want to Google the legitimate deaths that happen from loose tires on roadways.
Yeah.
Because it happens.
For sure. Well, are you ever driving behind a log truck and you start thinking Final Destination 1?
Yeah, all the time in Europe.
Oh, really?
Oh, my goodness. It was constant. You're like, I don't know what's going to happen. Yeah. I mean, they were pouring water into their engines. I mean, it was just, it's a whole different world, man. Yeah. Whole different world.
But I think about that every single time I pass by one of those trucks. It's like, that log is going to come off, and this is going to be a true story eventually.
Yeah, this is it. Splinters to the face.
Yeah, splinters to the face.
Not worth
just
it.
Right through the windshield and impales your face.
Yeah.
That would not be good.
So we're just over a half an hour in, which we're really not because, again, I was late for the timer by about 4 to 5 minutes.
Can we get a timer?
Yeah, I'm telling you.
Right below this flag.
That's what we needed.
Yeah.
We should get like a game clock timer.
Right.
Those
right
cool
below
ones.
This flag. So actually, we never touched on this flag either. So this flag was down here, and we just decided to throw our table in here, which is like cool scenery. And actually, in the interview coming up, there was an awesome American flag that was right basically in the same spot during the interview.
Brings a tear to my eye.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Sure. But Gina's brother actually made this, which is pretty badass because this is really, really well made. So just props to him. If you ever want one, he does sell them. So just shoot us a DM and we can give you his contact information because he.
What's the average price? Is it based on size? Probably based on size.
Yeah, it's based on size. Yeah, I'm not sure how much that one was. He gave that to us for Christmas, I believe. So, but it's really, really sweet and it's really well done. So
slick.
Definitely wanted to give him kudos for that because that's awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we're about a little bit over half an hour in.
Yeah, we got like 20 minutes left.
Stopwatch or some sort of timer right below that flag to keep us on track.
100%.
I mean, we're not really held to an hour. It's our show. We can do whatever we want.
That's true. The whole like business owner mentality.
Yeah, it's still not ingrained in
for
my
a
head.
podcast.
Like I got an hour for lunch. I got to get back. No,
I know.
We can do whatever we want. The only problem is the limitations on my cell phone for recording everything.
Right.
So.
Which is fine.
Yeah, which is fine. But yeah, now that we got an external hard drive, man, we can go hours. Next week, we're gonna go 4 hours straight.
No one will watch it. That's going to be the first thing they look at. 4 hours. Yeah. Do you remember when you wanted to go see a movie as a kid and your parents were like, well, how long is it? And you always lied to them because you knew if you told them the real truth, they would have just flipped out. Either it's a school night or they would have fell asleep in the seat next to you like my dad did. It's a nightmare.
So this is another thing that we wanted to touch on. Is this getting quicker? I think that these beeps are getting quicker.
Dude, why don't you just change the battery so we're not alcoholics?
It's not fun, man. It's not fun at that point.
That's true.
Do you want to put the... Where's the eyedropper? Oh, it's over by you. Do you want to put the eyedropper in there?
Yeah.
Just so we can keep...
Here, top me off. No, I got it. I'll do everything.
You
sit there.
You still got a whole glass.
No, I don't. What do you mean? Dude, I'm Irish. Listen, you Italian. You just sit there and make some meatballs.
He didn't offend me. We're okay. This is a safe space.
All right, so I'm going to drop... Here, let me just sit down like a human. All right, so I'm going to drop... Was it 3 drops?
Yep. We need a shorter table, which we might be getting soon. We're not going to tell people what it is.
No, yeah. We got something in the works, peeps. We got something in the works. Yeah. Remember, do less, God bless. Okay.
We have a theme every episode. We really do. The first one was about... us losing our sponsors or hashtag not a sponsor. That was our first episode. Last episode was us continuously talking about tens and tens and tens of views. And this one is do less, God bless. Do less,
which I can't take credit for. I do gotta give a shout out. So my buddy in the Army, he was our officer. He was our XO. And that was his motto for everything. Really? He would always show up and yell at us for something and just scream, and we'd always laugh at him because he's an officer and we're all enlisted. And he would just look back and put his hands together and say, do less, God bless. So, yeah, that's his shout out. Always give a shout out to somebody. Now I need like a half drop. Why? You're good. Because I only put 1 drop in of this.
Why?
Well, because I didn't have a lot.
Oh, well, we knew that we were going to put more in, right?
Yeah, well, now we do. Oh. All right, so here we are.
How many did you put in mine?
3.
Okay.
Like, the norm.
All right, so actually this is a good time, too, because you and I also wanted to discuss how we got into whiskey.
Oh, yeah, the stories. Okay, so I'll make mine. You go first.
Well, so... We're going to start this story by saying I don't remember the first time that I got into whiskey, okay. But I do remember the first time that I tried scotch.
Okay.
So, which scotch is a type of whiskey where the laws are actually super, super strict in Scotland to what would constitute actually being Scotch, or else it would be considered whiskey.
So there's laws when you crush Scotch.
Yeah.
Okay.
You have to have literally everything come from Scotland. It has to be made in Scotland. It has to be completely distilled in Scotland. Everything has to happen in Scotland for it to be Scotch. So I do remember the first time it was McClellan Scotch, which I actually still have the bottle up there. You can't really down Scotch. Scotch burns a lot.
Yeah,
it's very, very good.
The man's drink.
Yeah, it is. So actually, I used to drink Scotch quite a bit. And I think the first time, or one of the first times that I tried it, my friend would come over. My friend Steve, we actually just went to Ellicottville together because we were super cute on top of that mountain taking pictures together.
Fall Fest.
Fall Fest, yes. Sweet.
So basic.
So basic. I had a flannel on. I looked pretty cute. Especially with this beard, man. The beard and the flannel really, really pull out Fall Fest. I looked like everybody there, but I looked good.
Right.
Saying.
Yeah. City folk.
Yeah. So one of my first time trying Scotch was him. He would come over to my old place all the time, and we would watch The Walking Dead together. So he would bring over Scotch or something he would buy it for my birthday, and I would buy it for his birthday. And whenever he would come over for Walking Dead, we would crack open a bottle and just have a glass while we were watching it.
So a glass for the entire episode.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we weren't downing it for the full hour.
Okay.
We wouldn't remember the episode at that point.
That's true.
But yeah, so we just had one glass. We filled it out. I mean, it was a generous glass. It wasn't
sure.
anything crazy, but we always did it without ice too, and just put it, just let it rest on the table and just sipped it throughout the whole show.
Mm-hmm. So if you're gonna order Scotch, you'd say, I would like a glass of Scotch neat.
Yeah.
Which means no ice for those that want to order it and sound intelligent.
Or you can have it with some ice and call them speed bumps.
Speed bumps. Little teaser.
So cool. Yeah,
little teaser.
Little teaser coming up. But guy was awesome. But so yeah, that was the first time that I ever tried Scotch. Whiskey, I'm pretty sure Seagram's is whiskey, isn't it?
Sure.
Yeah, I'm not.
I don't know.
100% sure.
Not 100%. I can
because,
Google it.
Yeah, Google it right now, just so we can be consistent. But I think the first time that I ever tried whiskey was actually from a Silverstein song. So one of my favorite bands that I listen to, they're called Silverstein. That's actually the tattoos on my arm. And it's going to be a full sleeve eventually of all their album artwork. Yeah, Seagram's is whiskey. All right, so one of the first times that I tried whiskey was they released a song called Vices, I think, and the chorus of the song says, 7-7 with a lime will keep me safe, referencing the drink of 7-7 Seagram's, which has a 7 on the bottle, and 7-Up. So 7-7 with a lime. That was the first drink that I ever had with whiskey. Now that is coming back to me. They're my all-time favorite band. I love them so much. And that was what got me into trying whiskey. And then it just snowballed from there. Now we're just drinking it straight.
Yeah, now we're borderline alcoholics.
Yeah, I got way too much hair on my chest.
Love it.
Got like a sweater under this. But yeah, so that was the first time that I tried whiskey.
Very nice.
How about you?
So in episode 2, I touched on it where Colleen's family introduced me to OFs.
Right, yeah.
My grandpa, rest in peace, he showed me what a Manhattan was, and I tried his, and that steered me away. OFs brought me back in, and now I'm fine with Manhattans. I just had to get used to whiskey. But I appreciated whiskey. I just didn't really know how to go about it, so I didn't do it. I didn't really drink it. I basically drank beer, and then the deployment happened, and we had a senior NCO who's been in an extremely long time. Awesome guy, old school. He's got the Vietnam era leadership, and he took a lot of us under his wing to show us the old school way of doing things, because the Army's got a lot of different leadership styles, and as an NCO, you make your own. Mm-hmm. And the best pieces of advice that I ever got, which I also use civilian side, is you take bits and pieces of things that you like and don't like from everyone around you in a leadership position, and then you incorporate what you want to generate your own leadership style. So I've done that throughout my entire career. I do that civilian side when I meet different people in all different levels of, responsibility or leadership or whatever their title is, mm-hmm. and try to be better than what I was. So I was stressed out with just deployment stuff and dealing with whatever at home, and then just the workload that we were going through over there. And because of the mission, we were able to actually go into town in the country and drink.
Okay.
So it was very regulated. There were a lot of rules. You couldn't just whenever you wanted willy-nilly go out and do it. Sure. But there was an opportunity that we had that was approved by command, whatever, just a CYA. And senior NCO brought me under his wing, and he's like, come with me, you can just relax. And I was like, all right, I'll take your word for it. I trust you. Like, you've done the right thing. Obviously, I'm still going to protect myself in case anything happens or whatever, but, we'll go for it. And he basically ordered me a Jameson and ginger, and I drank it, and I literally decompressed.
Really?
And I was basically just looking at him, and I'm like, thank you. And he already knew that was going to be my reaction. He knew that was going to happen, and he just sat there at the bar and just silently shook his head, and he's like, I got you. And I was like, all right. And then I was all in. From there on out, I came home. I had my block leave, my terminal leave after the deployment, and it was, 10 o'clock, and fiance's at work. Yeah. I'm home. I'm after the deployment. I have nothing to do. I don't have to go back to work for a while. I'm able to just relax and go cut the grass, like whatever, walk the dog. So I did. I woke up. What I would do for that week is I would work out in the morning, come home. I would walk the dog, and then put him inside because he would like overheat because he's an English Yellow Lab, and he couldn't do it, because of the heat. Threw him inside, and then I go for a quick run, come back from the run, shower, and then I would change, and then I went to the bar. Okay. And I didn't get hammered, but I just sat there and had a drink. And okay. I would limit myself to one drink. I'd sit there and I would order the same thing. It would either be a Jameson and Coke or a Jameson and ginger. I would sit there and just watch a TV and just enjoy the fact that I was home. Did that for a week, and then from there I was like, well, I'm going to go back to work. And when I went back to work, it just didn't stop. I mean, it was because I knew what was going to happen. As soon as I went back to work, I knew that I was going to flip the switch, be back into work mode, and then it was just going to snowball, which it has. And then I've already been home for a year and a half, 2 years now, and it doesn't feel like it at all.
Nice.
So, but yeah, that's my story about when I really got back into it.
Yeah, so that's a good segue too, because as everyone knows, if they listened to last week's episode, we have a segment in our show where we recommend a mixed drink that people can have with a like any type of mixed drink with whiskey that'll get them into it. Now, I know for me, mine was 7 and 7 with my story that I just had. Seagram's and 7-Up. There's no specific recipe. It just really is an actual 2-ingredient mixed drink. It's nothing fancy. There's no lemon peel. There's no orange burnt grapefruit rind like I loved so much.
Yeah, you don't have to pull out a torch.
Yeah, really. You don't have to go to mixology school in order to make it. You just literally dump however much you want in there.
Yeah.
But so that would be my drink of choice. It's literally just 7-Up and Seagram 7. You can have it over crushed ice. I mean, at that point, with mixed drinks, it doesn't really matter if you put ice in it because you're already diluting the flavor of the whiskey to begin with.
Right.
Really, when you're talking about having a neat whiskey, it's something coming straight out of the bottle that you want to sip on. It doesn't have really any bearing on mixed drinks because it's already mixed. Mm-hmm. So crushed ice or ice cubes or anything, just to make it as cold as possible, like the carrots in my fridge, you have to make it almost frozen.
Goodness.
Yeah, just bringing it a full circle, man. But yeah, so that would be mine. It would be 7 and 7.
Yeah, and then I would do, like I said, Jameson and ginger or Jameson and Coke. Jack and Coke is also a good one, too. Just for someone starting out that wants to just go to any bar. Because the stuff that we're tasting, it's pretty unique, I guess, and specific. So, and most of it, you would just have it neat. So, for someone who's getting into it, yeah.
So let's get into the actual Tommyrotter whiskey then. We touched on their background this morning.
Yep.
Now let's go through the whiskey rating that we have on this. Again, super classy whiteboard here. I mean, this trim, you can really tell it was not bought from Walmart, but it was. So it's like a super classy whiteboard at this point.
It's all you need.
Yeah. So we have Tommyrotter American Whiskey written up on the board right now. From a label and branding perspective, what do you think? Now, I'll let you go first. Tell me what you think about it.
I like it a lot, and I love the size of the bottle.
Me too.
It's big.
Yeah.
It's definitely worth the money. You're actually probably getting more than what you paid for, which is, I mean, who wouldn't want that? Yeah. The label it's definitely not like Black Button. It's not like the ones coming up in future episodes. It's sleek. It's modern. And it's bold. It's easily recognizable. We spotted it surrounded by other whiskeys and brands
Right.
down in Rochester, and we're like, wow, there it is. I mean, it pops. Yeah. So I definitely give it that credit. And then there's actual physical handwriting on each bottle for the batch in the bottle.
Yeah.
So that's good.
Yeah, I agree. The bottle, the label is simple yet recognizable, like you said. You can tell that their marketing tactics, if they have somebody designated to marketing or whatever, did a really good job, because not only did they make those recognizable bottles, but they also have these cards that go with them that give you just a little snapshot of really what the whiskey's about. I mean, in the back, it tells you exactly what the whiskey is, what it's made with, the proof that it won the silver medal for the 2018 San Francisco World Spirits Competition. Mm-hmm. They did a very, very good job designing everything and marketing it.
Yeah, their co-founder was marketing for...
Oh, right. Yeah, okay.
Many years.
So then that makes sense why they're so good at marketing.
Yeah.
The one thing I will say, and again, this isn't anything to do with Tommyrotter, but more of an attestation to the two that we've already interviewed or have done. The Tommyrotter name has a good story on how they came up with the name Tommyrotter.
Yeah.
But it wasn't an in-depth personal story like the other two were. So that just by itself, I would probably, if we're being honest about it, I would probably change that 1 Foot Cock label branding up to an A+ check mark instead of an A+, and have this one be an A+.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. So from the nose perspective, Jesus, I'm hammered already. From the nose perspective, how do you feel the notes are coming through? Again, you're really going to, you smell those soft hints of cherry, citrus, and honey. So what do you think? Are you getting strong notes of that, or are they more tempered?
Well, now they're tempered because we put the 3 drops in, but before it was in your face.
Also, correction, it's not hemp lock leak like I thought it was last week. I actually did research on it, and it is hemlock. HEMLOCK.
Look at that. We're better than 99% of the media.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, we fixed our mistakes.
Yeah, we fixed it.
Don't embellish them. But it's hemlock leaves. So that's what they're made from. Again, probably 100% wrong again, and I'll have to revert the story yet again. But I'm pretty sure it's not hemplock leak. It's hemlock leaves. Just so we all are in understanding. So, because when I was saying it, Jesus.
You don't have to explain yourself.
When I was explaining it last time, I knew as soon as I said it, this is 100% wrong. I'm like, there's no way I'm even remotely close.
Clear, concise, and confident, even if you're wrong. Just own it.
Well, that's what... I didn't really do it last time because I changed the pronunciation 47 times in that episode. But yeah, it's hemlock leaves.
Yeah.
So anyway, back to the nose. What would you rate your smell of this whiskey being?
A++.
A++. Okay, we're going a different route.
Yeah.
Love it. Okay. So it's different.
It is different.
But good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Gotcha. Okay. So A++ for the nose. I agree with that because it is different. It doesn't have the sweetness as the other two. Mm-hmm. But it's still fantastic.
Yeah.
It has those cherry notes in there too. So
absolutely.
I do like that. Good one. All right, the initial taste, I mean, we're already like basically a glass in because we're lushes, but
right.
The initial taste, what do you think? And over here on the whiteboard too, this is where you and I kind of differed just a little bit based off of like the A checkmark plus and the A checkmark plus or whatever. So I wanted to capture the differences between our analysis there.
Okay.
So that's why you see 2 different ratings on some of them. But for the initial taste, what would you give this? Again, this has the taste, as it says, of it finishes kind of with vanilla, caramel, and oak spice.
I give it an A+.
A+, okay.
Yeah.
So not as prominent.
Right.
But obviously still good because it's an A+.
Correct.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I would... This, you can like kind of taste... So in the Black Button one... And again, we're going back to these because this is the whole point of this, right? Is to rate them and compare them.
Yep.
Not necessarily... What was that?
I don't know, man.
Not necessarily saying that one is better, but saying the differences between the two.
Yep.
So with the 1 Foot Cock, you could not taste the alcohol. That one was very dangerous.
Yeah.
Because it went down so smooth, so sweet with the honey. With the Black Button, kind of similar. You felt the initial burn, but you didn't feel it as the whiskey like progressed down your throat and everything. This one, I feel it from start to finish. I feel the alcohol, the burn, going from the start all the way to the end.
Exactly.
Again, not saying that it's bad. It's just from there, I would maybe rate the initial taste, like you said, probably an A+.
Yep.
I think that's a good one.
Where would you put the ending note?
The ending notes, I would probably rate that one an A+ check mark. I like the ending notes, the way that it sits on your tongue for a little bit, and the sweetness of the vanilla and the caramel, and it kind of, with that burn, it punches you with that oak.
Yeah.
So I do think that this is, again, multi-dimensional as it's going down, whereas the other ones might have been more like one-dimensional or two-dimensional.
I concur.
Oh, you concur.
I
Perfect.
concur.
All right, so from a rating, let's say our final rating on the count of 3 together to confuse everybody.
Okay, perfect.
All right, 1, 2, 3.
92.
93. Oh, that was close. Okay, I like that.
Yeah.
All right, so this one's clearly going to be a 92.5 because we're very technical on this show. So, yeah, 92.5. Okay, so it's just a little bit above the 1 foot cock and just a little bit below the black button. This is with this mash bill of the whiskey, which mash bill just means like what percentage of corn, wheat, rye, barley, all that. That's called the mash bill. So with the mash bill of this one, it is relatively similar to the other two. So again, we want to keep it consistent with a apples to apples rather than throwing a rye whiskey in here and just throwing it all off. So this is all 3 of these, I'm pretty sure, are predominantly corn.
Yeah.
So that's kind of why we went with this one as opposed to the other one. But so yeah, that's really it. This one is 92.5. Yeah, what do you think after we put those 3 drops in? Do you feel more of a crazy taste to it, or did it mellow it out? Because Black Button, it mellowed it out at first.
Yeah, the initial taste after the first 3 drops, it definitely did, but
Solid.
It mellowed it out. But yeah, it was good.
Okay. All right, cool. Well, that can conclude this episode. Again, check us out on all of the social medias: Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. We do our podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. We're on like 6 different podcast platforms now.
Yeah, it's
basically
insane.
all of them.
Yeah.
So at the Buffalo Happy Hour on Instagram, we're at the Buffalo Happy Hour 12 because somebody just had to steal our handle.
11 times.
Loser. Yeah, I know. Really.
Yeah,
Actually,
it's fine.
I didn't try the little one, but subscribe to our YouTube channel, like the video, comment on the video, let us know what you thought you liked about the video. Also recommend some more whiskeys. We're running out on the Buffalo area, so look at some whiskeys, tell us what you like, and let's continue this conversation.
For sure.
Yeah. So this has been episode 2 of the Buffalo Happy Hour, Mike.
Episode 3.
Episode 3.
Episode
I'm already
3.
hammered.
You're good, man.
Yeah,
You're
for sure.
crushing
So
it.
episode 3 of the Buffalo Happy Hour with Tommyrotter Whiskey.
Perfect.
All right. Have a good one.
You too.